All right. Hello, and thank you for joining this week's Tips and Tricks webinar. This is our continuing series on how to run your checkpoint environment more efficiently. Today's topic is updates to the Skyline deployment. Skyline is something new last year that we covered on a couple of these, but there's some updates to deployment of this product. So please use the Q&A chat. If you have any questions during this webinar, we'll get to those. Our presenter today is security engineer from South Carolina, Nick Ziegler. Nick ran this through Skyline ran Skyline for us last year. So he's going to cover the new deployment features. Nick, what do you have for us today?
Hey guys, like Rob said, I did Skyline last year. The deployment's changed up a little bit. So I wanted to go over first what Skyline is for people that may not have been on the session last year, and then go over the new deployment steps for Skyline. It's gotten quite a bit easier and some new features, so we'll go over that. So first of all, my slideshow first. First of all, Skyline is a monitoring solution that uses an open telemetry agent on the gateway or management servers to write that data to a time series database called Prometheus, and then we've built some pre-made dashboards on top of Grafana to kind of show it in a pretty website. It's basically information out of CP view. So longtime checkpoint people, if you're familiar with the command line tool called CP view, a lot of the information found in CP view will be found in the graphs and dashboards that we have in Grafana. You can also in Grafana create threshold-based alerts. So, you know, if CPU on a gateway hits a certain percentage and you want to get alert on that, you can get email and push notifications and things like that out of Grafana. So there is a reporting capability there as well. It's not very hard to set up. Like I said, it's gotten easier. So I just wanted to jump into some of the examples. So this is the Skyline dashboard. This is a little bit old, but and it's in a widescreen view. So depending on your screen resolution, this may look a little bit different. But these are some of the metrics you can see, like disk usage, CPU usage, memory usage, amount of connections, just a lot of statistics that are really helpful in troubleshooting any issues you may have, or you know, getting alerted on any issues you may have. So this one right here is a single gateway view. So this is the information coming off of one gateway. We also have a pre-made dashboard that is for multi-gateway view. So if you have, you know, 10 or 20 gateways reporting into this, you can go to the all machines dashboard and see them all listed and get a quick overview of what's going on each gateway. This is a high-level architecture slide. So the monitored systems will be either a gateway or management server, and this does work for Maestro now. So if you have any clients out there that have Maestro, this also works for that. So the monitored systems would be gateways or management servers that are pushing data into the Prometheus server, and then that gets displayed in a Grafana dashboard. And there's a little bit more detailed architecture slide in the deployment guide. So let me jump over to the deployment guide real quick. And this is something that's going to be shared with everyone on the call. You know, after the call, we're going to figure out how to get it out to you guys. So let me stop sharing and share this. All right, Rob, can you see that?
Yep, we got you.
All right, cool. So this is the guide. It's very new. We just finished it up last month. Worked with Dan Steppenheim on this. It's got a table of contents, but we'll jump down to the introduction. This goes over basically what I just explained, right? There's an open telemetry agent on the gateway or management server that writes data to the Prometheus time series database. This is a little bit more detailed architecture slide of how this is working. Everything in the pink up here is contained in the gateway and is maintained by Checkpoint, supported by TAC. The part in the blue is customer owned infrastructure. So the Prometheus server and Grafana server, and you can run these on the same server. They don't have to be different servers, but this is controlled by the customer, and this deployment guide helps you deploy these servers in your environment to be able to use this. And this is deploying on Ubuntu Linux, but they also have this in Docker. You can also write to Grafana's cloud as well and not maintain these servers yourself if you don't want to. These are the prereqs. So it works on 8040, take 190 and above, R81, take 77 and above, 8110, take 79 and above, and R8120, take 8 and above. This is important because I've gone through this recently with someone that was running R8120 and a take below take 8. And while the OpenTelemetry agent does exist on the gateway, it doesn't write any data. So you'll look at your dashboard and say, hey, I'm not getting any data if you're not on take 8 or above. So make sure you follow these prereqs. And we'll just jump down here. I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is basically step-by-step on Ubuntu 2204. If you copy each of these commands and paste them into the terminal, you're going to have a working Prometheus and Grafana instance when you get to the end of this. So it's not hard at all. Copy command by command, run them on your server. This runs in, another note, this runs in user space, and it does not have authentication between the gateway and the Prometheus server. So this is meant to be run in your internal environment, not exposed to the internet. This is the most basic guide you can get to get this up and running. There is ways to use TLS and basic authentication if you wanted to put this somewhere that was more public or more available, but that is not covered in this guide. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. I have set it up and I can walk you through that. But like I said, this is maintained by the customer, so you can run it however you want to. One thing to note in this guide, and it's up in the top, in the introduction, but some of these commands that reference like home directory username, that's your Linux username, right? If you don't change this to whatever your Linux username is, that command is going to fail. Another thing covered in the introduction is where you see X's for IP addresses. That is the IP address of your Prometheus server. So you need to, whatever IP address you assign to your Prometheus server, you need to change these X's to your IP address before you paste that into the terminal. Here's another example of where username is used, but that needs to be changed to your Linux username. And this is made to, all of these commands for systemctl, these are made to survive a reboot, right? So if you set this up on Ubuntu and you run all this, when you reboot, these services are automatically going to start and be ready to receive data. One thing, so all of this survives reboot on the Linux server and the gateway. But if you do a major upgrade on your gateway, I have seen the OpenTelemetry payload file, which is down here. This is something that gets added on the gateway. I've seen this get overwritten. So on major upgrade, you might want to go out and make sure this file still exists. And if the file still exists, you still may have to run this command again, which is, this command is what sets the configuration for the OpenTelemetry agent on the gateway or management server to write to the Prometheus server. So on major upgrade, not jumbo hotfix, but major upgrade, just make sure that this file still exists, and you may have to, if you're not getting data on your Prometheus server, you may have to run this command again. And that's it. Like you should only have to run this command one time unless you do an upgrade, or unless your Prometheus server IP address changes, right? So you're setting this to write to whatever IP address your Prometheus server is at. If you change that IP address, you need to come in here and change this and run this command again to update the configuration. And these are so this is the SK for Skyline. A lot of this information around Skyline is out there, but not the Prometheus server and Grafana server setup. So that's why we made this deployment guide. But our pre-made Grafana dashboards are in this SK here. And you just come out here and download them. And then this deployment guide goes through how to import, set up your Prometheus connection, and then how to import those dashboards in Grafana. So this saves a ton of time. You know, when I was a Checkpoint customer, I built some of this stuff on my own and it took forever. So I'm glad Checkpoint has made this available to customers and kind of made it a lot easier for customers to set this up themselves. So this is what it looks like when it's done. I'll kind of zoom in. This is a single gateway overview. There's actually a management server in this one. So we do have some questions. I'm going to go through the Q&A real quick.
Yeah, I'll ask them to you here, Nick.
Okay.
So the first one's more of an issue question. You may not have the specifics, but I'll ask it anyway, and maybe we'll have to get back to him. I ran into an issue while deploying Maestro SG into Skyline. Instead of deploying it to the SMO, I deployed the Skyline agent on a secondary appliance. Now I cannot deploy the configuration completely from that security group. What is the correct way to rip out the whole config of Skyline from the security group and then redeploy? Deleting and recreating doesn't work. I know that's very specific, so if we have to get back to him, we will, but I want to ask you.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to get back to you on that. There should be a command on the OpenTelemetry agent to remove the configuration. I've just never done it because we've always set them up, but we haven't taken them down very many times. So let's scroll back up and maybe I can jump on my gateway real quick and check something.
Okay.
But I imagine it's some other syntax here, like you're setting OpenTelemetry with the payload file here. I mean, this is probably like delete or remove or something. So yeah, I'll have to check on that. I've never taken it down yet. Most times when we set it up, everybody wants to keep it in place. So
okay, I jotted that one down in a note. We'll get back to him on that. Next question, can we get a copy of this PDF?
Yes, we'll make it available.
We'll make it available, yes. Will we be able to use some other server than Prometheus?
I think you can, but you would have to probably build the parser yourself. So this is set to export in a way that Prometheus can read it, right? When I built it as a customer, I built it on TeleFluxDB using Telegraph and SNMP. So I'm sure there is a way to do it on a server other than Prometheus, but right now, the only thing this is tested with is Prometheus.
Okay. Let's see. To be clear, this is specific when you were talking, but at the beginning, when you're talking about, you had the overview screen of the deployment and the machines. Do you mean that the Prometheus and Grafana, for the purpose of Skyline, will not be supported by Checkpoint?
Right. So the OpenTelemetry agent that runs on the gateway is part of the Gaia operating system now. It's part of the Jumbo hotfixes. Is going to be supported by TAC. But Prometheus and Skyline running in customers' environments, I don't think that's something TAC is going to be allowed to touch, right, in a customer's environment. So I don't think that's something, while they can, of course, like reference the document that I'm showing you today and tell you how it should be done, I don't think they're going to help you work on your server running in your environment. And if you have concerns about support, I mean, this has come up to me in the past with other customers. If you have concerns about support of the Prometheus and Grafana server, you know, one thing you can do is run it in Grafana's cloud, and they have, you know, either 8 to 5 Monday through Friday support for one price, or you know, 24/7 support for another price, and they do support, you know, Grafana and Prometheus running in their cloud. So if you need support for that, that might be an option to look at.
Okay. Got a tip here from Matt Ricketts. Matt's another Checkpoint SE manager. He said, by default, Prometheus only retains 15 days of data. You need to add an additional string to your startup command. And he has a command in here. I will send it over to the answered questions in the Q&A. But Nick, I just wanted to, you know, if you had any comment on that about the data retention on the Prometheus server?
Yes, I knew it was 15 days, but I didn't know how to increase it. So I just screenshotted that myself. I'm
Oh,
gonna
perfect.
take that back and play around with it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Let's see. Does the payload dash no dash TLS dash JSON file go in a specific directory?
Um, it doesn't matter which directory it goes in. I just had it in the home directory for purposes of this on the gateway, but you send that command looks for that file in the current directory, right? So you either need to run that command when you're in the directory where the payload file is, or in this cat command here, point it to, slash wherever the JSON file exists.
Okay. Are there any plans to migrate these sorts of monitoring capabilities into the native checkpoint management platforms, like on an SMS or a smart event server?
There is talk about that. I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about it, but there's talks about trying to bring this into the checkpoint environment itself in the future.
We can neither confirm nor deny. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Are there any pre-built dashboards available to download from Checkpoint? And is there any way to export the dashboard into a report format?
So there is pre-built dashboards from Checkpoint. They are in that SK. Let me scroll up. There should be a screenshot in here somewhere. It's down here. So like in this SK here, in the downloads section, there's these Grafana dashboards. These are the pre-made ones by Checkpoint. All of the tiles in these pre-made dashboards are drag and drop, so you can drag them around and arrange them however you want to. Or you can make your own dashboard and import tiles from these dashboards. Is there a way to export? You can export the database in JSON. Like if you made a custom, you can export the dashboard in JSON. So if you made like a custom dashboard and you wanted to share it with other organizations or people in your company, you could just export it as JSON and import it just like you're importing these dashboards. But as far as like into a report format, I don't know. That's a good question. I think you can like print the page, but I don't know if there's like a way to export it in PDF or not. I haven't run into that yet.
Okay. Let's see. I think we have one more. Anybody else has one? Please throw it in the Q&A.
I see one about, is the display document available to us in the NESK? I don't think this is in NESK yet. Like I said, it's fresh. We just finished it up the end of last month and have been going through and it's been tested. So I don't see why we couldn't put it in an SK. I just don't have the authorization to do that myself. Rob,
Yeah.
do you know
Yeah,
if
we
have
can work on getting this into an SK, but like we said, we will make this document available to you in other means for now. But we'll work on getting this into an official document as the knowledge base.
Yeah, and I want to share in the chat, like somebody shared this with me today. I have not tested this, but I'll bring it up to you guys. This was shared on Checkmates. Let's see, can I send to all? This was shared on Checkmates, and this is a Docker that someone's put together to do this. So if you want to run it in Docker, like I said, use at your own risk. Hasn't been tested, just found out about this today. So
we did have one more come in here. Will there be more detailed troubleshooting tips? Will there be more detailed troubleshooting tips provided for in-depth issues? For example, current guidance on troubleshooting is go check out Prometheus graphs, but there are no sufficient explanations as to how to use the graphs in Prometheus.
So let me see if I can bring up my Prometheus real quick. And so if you go to the Prometheus web server on port 9090 and go to status, and then there's like database stats, you can look in there to see like how many values have been written for a certain parameter, right? So I would watch those statistics and see if you see them increasing. If you don't, then you're probably not writing data. But also like the JSON for your payload file, and when you do that on the gateway, you set up the payload file and run this command. If there's a syntax error with this payload file, it'll tell you, like it won't even write the config. It'll say, hey, this didn't work. So if you don't see this message here, operation has finished successfully, then there's something wrong in your JSON file and you need to go check that out.
All right, I think that covers it. Anyone have anything else here? Oh, it's another one just popped in. A couple more. You're not going anywhere, Nick. Let's see. Can you go over how to customize the dashboards?
So
And along with that, next one was, can you create custom dashboards in Grafana?
yes, you can create custom dashboards in Grafana. I can't go over it live because I'm on a different network right now than where my Grafana instance is, but I'll kind of scroll to the dashboard itself and show you. Like in here, if you scroll over one of these tiles, and I don't know if this is what you mean by customizing the dashboard, but if you scroll over one of these tiles, a little like 3-line hamburger thing will pop up. You can click there and delete the tile, or you can scroll over this and drag and drop it to change this dashboard around. So if there's something more important that you want to see up to the top. So here we have CPU and memory, and we tried to arrange these to, you know, what we thought would be the best troubleshooting information to show at the top. But like farther down, there's connections, there's interface statistics like up or down, number of errors. So if those are more important to you, you can just click them and drag and drop them up to the top.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, pop back into Q&A if you want in more detail there. If management says we already have SolarWinds, why are we spending time setting up another monitoring tool? How would you respond to something like that?
So I don't know much about SolarWinds, but I just had a customer last week that runs SolarWinds that we went through this setup with and set up Skyline. And they said that they get much more information out of Skyline and it's real time versus their SolarWinds wasn't real time. So I don't know if that's for everyone, but for this customer, they got value out of Skyline over, and they had SolarWinds as well. So maybe it's just the way they had their SolarWinds configured, but this was helpful for them.
Yeah, if you want to discuss that, whoever asked that, put it in anonymously, but if you want to dig in that further, reach out to myself or Nick, and we can hook you up and get that conversation. Got a hand raised. Tausif, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Did you have a question or did you hit that by mistake? Throw it in the Q&A. Don't see anything. Mistake, he said. Well, I'll give you a high five anyway. All right. I think that covered the questions. All right, great. Thank you, Nick. Great information. Lots of activity there. Like we said, we'll get this information out to you. The follow-up email will have the reference content. We'll figure out how to get you this PDF, the SK articles that Nick referenced. Let's see. Oh, and of course, the recording link will be in that email also. Our next webinar will be in 2 weeks. That's going to be on using management API and specific use cases. So you'll see the invitation for that soon. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Nick, for the great info, and we'll see you next time. Enjoy your day. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.